on Air. My name is Steve Vera, and I'm part of the AWS Customer Incident Response team. And today I have my colleague with me, Mohammed, and we're going to discuss recent trends related to unauthorized use on web applications. And we're going to also discuss how to respond to and detect those types of events using AWS services such as CloudTrail, CloudWatch, GuardDuty, CloudShell, CloudTrail. Actually, I use that again.
Athena.
Right? But yeah, exactly. And CloudTrail is good, so that's why I use it twice, right? Mohammed, do you want to give us a little bit of an intro as to who our team is and what our team does, apart from sending cat jokes to each other?
Thanks, Steve. Hi, everyone. I'm Mohammed Rafathullah. I'm a security consultant with the Customer Incident and Response team. Steve and I work on supporting our AWS customers with advice and analysis during active security incidents and within the parameters of our customer incident response process. Steve, you know that security is a shared responsibility between AWS and our customers. And AWS is responsible for protecting the infrastructure, the hardware, the network, the physical locations. And our customers' responsibilities are is securing in the cloud, right? So that's limiting access to their applications to minimum principle of least privilege, using a WAF or ELB to secure the perimeter. They set up logging, and they're responsible for backing up critical data. But if a customer has a security event in any of these spaces, then our team works on the customer side of the shared responsibility model, and we assist them to resolve these events. They can open up a ticket with a TAM or AWS support, and the ticket may be escalated to our team for our assistance, right?
Right, excellent. And are there any other types of IOCs and TTPs that we've been seeing recently?
Yeah, Steve, recently we've had a lot of customers who have seen buckets deleted from their accounts and data destruction, as well as unauthorized resources have been created and used to crypto mine. And we've seen unauthorized console logins, maybe because credentials were accidentally exposed. And then they've also been unauthorized remote code executions.
Exactly, yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned those TTPs. We are going to take a look at some of those today.
Great.
I'm mainly going to be using GuardDuty, Cloudwatch Logs, Athena, and CloudTrail, as I mentioned earlier. Do you like CloudTrail, Mohammed?
Yeah, CloudTrail is actually my go-to tool for my security practice. Day to day, when I need to look at the overall health of a customer's account, GuardDuty is a great place for me. CloudTrail is a great place for me to start, because it lets me know what services the customer is using, what kind of APIs calls they've been making, who's been logging in and out of the account. So overall, it gives me a great picture of what's happening in the customer's account.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, definitely the great thing about CloudTrail is it does give you that overall account activity across your entire infrastructure. And actually, I kind of liken it to the song "Every Breath You Take" by The Police.
Yeah.
It's like, every breath you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you.
Yeah.
It's just like that. CloudTrail is every access key you take, every API call you make, I'll be logging you.
That's right, I'll be logging you.
Actually, I love it. But enough of the dad jokes for now, right? I'm going to go to a demo. So I'm going to move over to CloudWatch, Athena, and GuardDuty.
Nice.
And with the demo today, I'm going to go over the ways in which a vulnerable web application can be used to take advantage of IMDSv1 on an EC2 instance, specifically using server-side request forgery. And we'll take a look at some of the tools we use on a daily basis and how we use them to investigate unauthorized activity. So what I've done, it's kind of like a cooking show where I've pre-built a web application running on Apache and pre-configured CloudWatch and other logging capabilities to ingest logs from the Apache web server. And so the first example of unauthorized activity we want to look at is a request to the metadata service itself. And generally speaking, HTTP requests won't generally include a request to this EC2 instance metadata service. So I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but this is something that we can look for as an indicator of compromise of unauthorized activity. And we can use CloudWatch to do this, so I'm going to do that right now. If we go over to Cloudwatch Logs, and then Insights, and then basically, as it loads up, I'm going to set the scope time to the previous 4 weeks, so we're searching the previous 4 weeks. Going to make sure that the log group we're searching for is the Apache access log. And these are the access logs that are being ingested from the actual Apache web server that was pre-built. Okay, and then in the query window, I'm going to put in a query and then hit run for that query. Okay.
So Steve, in your query you have this IP address. It's a little bit unusual, this 169.254 IP address. What exactly is that filter there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mohammed. So that filter is actually for the IP address of the EC2 Instance metadata service itself. So what we're doing with this particular query is we're querying the Apache access logs, okay, for any HTTP request that includes that query to that EC2 Instance metadata service. And so if we take a look here at the items in the log entry, you'll be able to see things like the date and time.
Right.
Okay. You'll see the request was made to the demo.php page. You'll also see the remote IP address that actually made the query. Yep. And interestingly, you'll also see this user agent. Is there anything that that you see about this user agent that might?
Yeah, it's a PowerShell query.
Exactly, yeah. So that's something that if it's not common in your environment, you might want to take a look at.
Right.
The last thing in the access log that I want to point out is the actual query itself. So if this is the query, okay, you see here 169.254, 169.254.
Right.
So we see the HTTP request made a request to the EC2 Instance metadata service.
Right.
It also includes the question mark site. So if you're troubleshooting your application, this is the vulnerable parameter. And it also includes a request to the web dev security credentials. So this is one of the ways that we've been seeing that credentials have been compromised.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so that's one of the ways. Another way that we've seen instances of unauthorized use is where they take those credentials and then attempt to create users or create resources from them. And one of the ways we can take a look at that or view that in our CloudTrail logs is through using Athena.
Right.
So I'm just going to apply this particular query here. We're querying for the create user API, and I'm going to hit run.
And Athena is great for searching all types of flat files with SQL statements, right?
Exactly, yeah, it's brilliant at that. So we have a few results here. Okay. Now the interesting thing about this is that it actually also includes valid results.
Nice.
So we would need to eliminate the false positives, and so we can refine this particular query by adding a qualifier. So I'm going to hit run there.
All right, I see your qualifier there is I-. So you're looking for EC2 instances over here?
Yeah, exactly. That's spot on, Mohammed. So I- is a wildcard for EC2 instances because EC2 instance IDs begin with I-. So, but essentially, we're looking for any API call for create user that's made by an EC2 instance.
Right. Because those would be the ones that we are interested in, not the ones that are created from console login or something.
Exactly,
like that, right?
that's correct. And you could also use the same query, but instead of create user, we'll have the API call create change set.
Right.
So that's one of the API calls that's used.
Or create stack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Set, so I'll run that there. But another interesting use of, or unauthorized use that we've been seeing lately is where the compromised EC2 instance credentials are used to actually log into the console.
Oh,
right. So if I just do a quick search on that and hit run, okay, you'll take a look and we'll see the results of the query results. Sorry, results of the query. You have here the event date and time.
Right.
And the API call there, console login, the source IP address, And some interesting things here, you won't actually receive an error code
Right.
or an error message at all. You will get a console login success.
Because it was successful, right?
That's correct. But I mean, if you're using this particular query and you actually get results, you may want to also ring some alarm bells, because if you have, generally you'll have normal users logging into the console, that's fine.
Right.
But if you have an EC2 instance logging into the console, that's something very strange,
that's
right?
Strange indeed.
Because EC2 instances, they don't even have thumbs. How can they log into a console? It's ridiculous. But that's something that you definitely want to look at if you get results from that query. Yeah. And so the last method of unauthorized use that I want to highlight today is basically remote code execution using SSM.
Okay.
And one of the ways we've been able to detect or respond to that type of unauthorized use is using guard duty. So I'm going to scroll over and browse to guard duty. And this is one of the findings that that we've had show up when we've seen unauthorized use. If you click on the finding, and I'll scroll down, some interesting notes here is the remote IP address. So this is the IP address that made the remote code execution
That is
call.
the source IP.
Exactly,
right?
The source IP, the account ID, and you'll also have here the API, send command.
Right.
Okay. So let's go back to CloudTrail and look up send command, right? I'm going to here. And sorry, look at CloudTrail through Athena is what I meant. Okay. So if we run this, right? Okay, you'll notice that we have a few results here. I'm just going to scroll through some of them. Okay. Okay. Actually, so again, we have the date and time. We have the event name, which is the API call, send command.
Right.
You have the source IP address, which is what we saw in guard duty. Okay. And if I scroll over a little bit more, you'll have the request parameters, but you'll also have the response elements. And so with these response elements, you can actually copy the particular command ID. So I will do that. Sorry. Right. Copy that. Okay. Okay, so my Cloud Shell timed out. Might need to start it again.
Nice.
Yeah, but with this particular command ID, you can actually query the command ID. Wow, Cloud Shell doesn't like me today. I didn't pray to the demo gods.
Well, that's the exciting part about having a live demo. Sometimes we have to deal with the slow response of the system, which is what happens in real life as well, right? Yeah. So this isn't so strange.
Usually I sacrifice a bagel to the demo gods in the morning and then I'm fine, but today didn't quite work out. I mean,
so our viewers on the air are getting the exact system screen they will see when they try it themselves, Steve?
That is correct, yeah. I mean, do you have any drugs? Do you have any? I have one. Why did the hacker not get caught?
Why?
Because he ran somewhere. Anyway, as we're waiting for this to start up again.
Yeah.
It's
let's hope it starts off quickly before Steve decides to tell us another joke.
Before a crane, Kane comes and pulls me off stage, right?
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So just like to remind everyone, that there are some the IM Instance Metadata Service, IMDSv1, has this issue that we're showing, right? The service with IMDSv1 can be upgraded to IMDSv2.
And actually, that's a good point. Why don't we, while we're waiting for this, let's talk a little bit more about the mitigations and preventions of this type of unauthorized use based on application security events, right?
Definitely, yeah. So several things about application security. I guess we'll talk about that after you're done.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead.
All right, so switching gears, going back to the command ID. All right, hopefully this works now. Okay, great. And so what I'm doing here, I'm going to try and expand it. Basically, I'm searching on that command ID.
Yep.
And what I'm looking for is what was the command that actually
I think it went up
oh,
there.
I did? Okay.
I saw who am I.
Oh, okay. Actually, that's the title of the command, but maybe you're right. So there it is. Command who am I?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Okay, and then you can also, after that, take a look at the output of that. So we scroll in, there you go. The output of that command, who am I, was root. Yeah.
Is root.
Yeah,
right.
So you can really dive a little bit deeper into what commands were actually run based on the information from guard duty and CloudTrail and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. But transitioning back to you in mitigation and prevention.
So as we said, one of the mitigations for this is to update the instance metadata service to version 2.
Right.
And version 2 uses a token authentication with HTTP put request to generate the token. Of course, a third party will not be able to use that request. They can't generate a token. They can't authenticate with the token that they don't have. So, one of the mitigations is to use an IMDSv2 upgrade, right? Upgrade to IMDSv2.
Yeah, and also, in addition to that, interesting thing to note is we're seeing a lot of these recent trends and types of security events, but they are on the side of the security model of security in the cloud.
Right.
So it's important to note that you do want to make sure that your applications are secure as well.
That's correct.
Because that's how the IMDS credentials are obtained.
And one of the things is that we have a Safe Room episode on Twitch for revoking exposed IAM credentials, so our viewers can see that. In addition to that, guard duty does catch these events, and so if they're depending on guard duty, if they have that enabled already, what they should do is make sure that the contact information in guard duty is accurate, because if guard duty alerts don't go anywhere, then they can't be actionable, right? In addition to that, I also want to say that they should check their web applications for vulnerabilities, right? So scan their applications with an application scanner, make sure that they don't have exposed credentials.
Exactly, and also principle of least privilege on the credentials.
That's correct. Yeah, so make sure that only those required to have access to and keep that to a minimum number of people. Yeah.
That's great. Is there anything else that you want to tell our viewers today, Mohammed?
I'd just like to say that the CIRT team is available for any incidents, security incidents that occur on the customer side of the shared responsibility model, to reach out to their TAM, SA, or premium support to open up a ticket that gets escalated to us. And hopefully, we'll be seeing them in the Safe Room episodes on Twitch.
And if you want to meet our team and see more of what we do, come see us at Boston Reinforced at the end of the month. Bye.
Thank you.